Hey everybody, my name is Letiredd, content creator over on Twitch. I mainly play Star Citizen, but like everybody else, I'm human and I play something different once in a while. I stream typically Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday, and Sundays. And right now I'm doing a giveaway for an Aurora MR, which ends mid-August. So come on by and check it out. With that, today we are doing a react to Inside Star Citizen Alpha 3.24 Hangars and Freight. What else could there possibly be about hangars and freight that we haven't heard by now? I'm very curious. I don't know exactly what we're going to be presented, and as chat has already pointed out, like we want more cargo apparently. Was the feedback they got for this week. So, with that being said, let's talk about cargo. Before we go into the react, let's just talk about everything we've learned about cargo so far, right? What have we learned? We know what the freight elevators look like. We know what the kiosk system is going to look like. We know what the new containers look like. We know what the missions are going to look like. We saw what the payout's going to look like. We know what the different pads and outposts around Stanton and Moons and stuff like that are going to have as a freight elevator to give us cargo. That's great. So honestly, what don't we know yet? That's a good point. Can we shoot it with a pistol? I didn't think about that one. No more no more spam away. All right. With that, let's go ahead and jump right into it and see what this is all about.
Alpha 324 is currently in testing awaiting its release to hungry players like you. And while ISC is moving onward to covering the ongoing development of the upcoming Alpha 4.0 after that, we thought we'd take one last chance to check in with the cargo guru himself, Chad McKinney, and get one last look at how personal persistent hangars, freight elevators, and cargo loading is working. This is Inside Star Citizen Alpha 3.
Okay, like real quick question. Wouldn't you guys rather find that out for yourselves in game? Just saying. Weapons shipments, that's actually a great question that Dead would be interested in answering that. But we already do know you'll be able to organize cargo containers with weapons and use those as storage. So I want to say yes, but I don't know if those will be in game as an available mission. That would be awesome, but I feel like no one would finish those missions. For some reason, the cargo would disappear somewhere in the middle. Yes, that would be awesome. Kind of like Daisy does, or even Tarkov does now. Being able to see the different weapon racks and display the weapons and have somebody come in and be like, browse my inventory. Like if we could have the walls that they have in the stores available to us, like even in our personal hangar, for example, that would be awesome. But all right, I digress. What do they have to say? So excited.
24 hangars and freight. Let's go.
The first thing, obviously, you spawn into the hub. You can go out into the main section down at the bottom, depending on the station that you're in. Meet up with your friends. Make sure you're in a party together. At that point, you have lots of options available to you. You can either go to an item bank if you want to grab some smaller items, which there are numerous throughout the station, including actually in the hub that you're just in. The item bank is used to allow players to get smaller items, mainly like FPS style items, without having to go all the way down to a hangar to use the freight elevator kiosk to pull it up from the freight elevator. That's especially useful for things like handguns or undersuits and armor, metapins, food.
So, from what I heard, I'm just gonna point this out real quick. I don't see. Oh no, the search function is
Stuff
there. Sorry, it's up here. I had heard they had added that into the Evo build, and I was like, oh, oh crap, this must be an older build that they're showing us. They're still behind. No, no, no. It has the search function. So clearly, this is one of their more recent builds. This looks cleaner, but I mean, again, I thought this was about cargo.
You just want to quickly get on your person, and you don't have to wait for like a huge platform to come up in order to grab it. The inventory that the item bank accesses is the same location inventory that the freight elevator accesses. So in fact, you can do things like put something into your location inventory via the item bank, and then later on decide you want to get it back while you're in your hangar. And you can do that via the freight elevator kiosk or any of the other item banks that are in the hangars.
And while you and your group members are certainly welcome in your new personal persistent hangar, questions still abound about what happens when an unwelcome guest sneaks in.
If someone gets into your hangar, there is a trespassing timer that will start ticking. After like 30 seconds or so, they're going to get automatically kicked out. In addition, we have...
Okay, so that automatic kickout feature, I hope that doesn't apply to everywhere in the future. Because, okay, my initial reaction is exactly that, Dead. And I was going to bring you up because for piracy, that would absolutely suck. Now, if they make it purely for your personal persistent hangar, that's one thing, right? It absolutely cannot be the case for anywhere else, though. You can't. Yeah, they need to be able to turn around and shoot, or the guy needs to be able to shoot. Exactly. Treat it like a ship or a personal. Now, I can understand them wanting to give an extra layer of protection to people's persistent stuff because of the amount of work that can go into it, the amount of, loot collected over time. I don't think it's necessarily a great idea to have that be lootable from others in game. You need to have, I don't want to use this word. You need to have a safe space. I said it. I regret it immediately already. But anywhere else, any other hangar or any other place, this cannot be a thing. They have 30 seconds to kill you and steal anything they can grab into a backpack. Yeah, they gotta be quick headshots. See, Armistice and Space Force, that's exactly where I'm going, Dead. Is like, we already know there are certain areas that are supposed to be the green zones, right? The safe zones, where nothing can happen to you. Because let's be honest, if it was 24/7 everywhere you go, that would increase anxiety. And we've seen it through other games like Tarkov. Right now, more people play PvE than they do the PvP. Why? Because they're tired of losing so much after grinding for it for so long. They're tired of running into cheaters, all that. And that does wear down on a player base. And the last thing we want this to do is take a shift in that direction. But exactly, outposts and everywhere else, fair game. Even if that outpost, let's take a distribution center for example. If that distribution center has a, what's it called? If they have a hangar, which you all know most of them have 2 hangars. I haven't been to every single one yet, but every single one I've seen so far has a hangar on the left side and on the right side. They should be able to get into those hangars, take you out, get on your ship, potentially take any other cargo that was on the elevator, load it up onto your ship for you, take that ship, transfer if need be, or I believe you should be able to sell from that ship, especially if it's somewhere like a Brios or a Reclamation where there should be no, let's call it, ping to your transponder to see if you own the ship. And that's just kind of how I'm going to put it. Armistice in general is temporary, and I'm okay with that. And that's, yeah, absolutely. Even if its current state seems fine from a balance standpoint. Well, let's see what else they have to say about it.
Change the rules in the hangar to make it allow the same kind of like non-armistice zone behavior that the ships do. So we are modifying it to where you can shoot people that even trespass inside your hangar and not get a infraction for it. At your home location, it will be your personal hangar, but if you go to a different place in the verse, then that hangar that was given to you is what we call a public hangar, but you're still the person that like has authority over it. So while you do, you have the same kind of rights.
In many ways, these new hangars are your first home ownership in the verse, with not only the ability to defend yourself against intruders without getting a crime stat, but also your first abilities to customize and decorate your space as you see fit.
Okay, so yeah, this seems pretty decently balanced right now. Yeah, anything given enough time can be cheesed. People are amazing at figuring out ways to take advantage of stuff. It's only human.
The personal hangars are kind of the first real ownership in the world for the players. We've had ownership with the ships, which is great. You've been able to keep things inside them for some time now and, kind of customize it that way. But this is the first kind of like home, the first place in the world that actually is yours. And it's allow you to.
Where's my beanbag? I want a beanbag. It's really important for me. It does not look like a very nice beanbag chair. It doesn't look like it's made out of beans. It looks like it's like a rock that was covered in like some cheap leather. Pleather. There you go. Look, even the Picos don't want to sit on it. And that guy does not look comfortable.
Store furniture, you can store boxes, cargo if you want to stockpile and be kind of clever with trading. Anything that, any flair, anything that you want that will help make it feel like home. But it's not the end. We have lots of plans for the future. You've seen things with all the base building updates, and also we've talked in the past about things like persistent HABs, etc. So there's more that's going to be coming along this vein, but the personal HABs are the first big step of ownership in the world for players.
Personal hangars is what he meant to say, not personal HABs. We don't have those yet.
With armistice zones now removed from hangars, Persistence allows players to now set their most used items out for easy access before any launch. You can display your firearms, ship items, and more however you'd like. And in future releases beyond Alpha 3.24, this will include display cases for armor as well.
Basically, almost anything in your inventory you'll be able to pull up via either the item bank or the freight elevator, and then you can directly leave them around in your hangar. Now, you do have to be careful about, if you want to call up a ship, leaving things on the platform may block it, so that could cause issues. However, we did expand the size of the hangars in order to give you more space in there to do exactly this. So we want to make it both easier experience to get in and out of some of these hangars, as well as give you more space in order to decorate it and make it feel like your own place. In addition to all that, another change that we've made is we've reclassified many ships in the game that were previously attributed to small hangars, now to the medium-sized hangars, so that they are a more comfortable fit as far as landing.
Okay, that right there is kind of problematic because I'm purely thinking of it as will I still be able to spawn a Pisces from an outpost if it's no longer considered a small ship and it's a medium ship, and I'm gonna have to go to a hangar for that? Well, how is that going to work? Is it only going to be snubs? I think we need a little bit more clarification. We saw the MPUV, okay, but we know that's tiny and doesn't have a quantum drive, so, well.
And then, in addition to that, also to make it more reasonable for maybe the amount of cargo or the items that you're moving in.
The physicalizing of most items and the addition of freight elevators and new kiosks in Alpha 3.24 to work with them not only in your hangar but at mission locations throughout the verse means a fundamental shift in the manner and time it takes to load and offload your ship or vehicle.
For both manual and automatic loading, you're going to be doing something at the moment that's going to be some kind of commodity transfer. Whenever you go to the commodity terminal to do a transaction, you're presented with two different options. You can either deliver directly into your location inventory, or pick a ship from a list that's at that location and have it automatically packed into that ship for you. If you decide to deliver it into the location inventory, you'll buy it. There's no restriction on what you buy. It'll just go directly into it. As long as you have capacity in the inventory and the money to pay for it, you can do it. At that point, it's up to you if you've bought it to get it onto your ship or to move it to wherever, or just sit on it. So you can just hang out, wait until the prices look good, and then later on decide to move it to a different location. From there, if you decided to manually load it, you can load it onto the ship, call ATC, go to a different location in the game, land at a different location, go into the spaceport, and then access the same commodity terminal there, look at the prices, and make a determination about whether you want to sell anything on your ship. At that point, you can make what we call a sell order. And this is basically a declaration, kind of like a contract that says I will deliver these goods and you will give me this payment for it. When you've done that, at that point, you can go back to your hangar, move the goods off of the ship onto the freight elevator platform, use the freight elevator kiosk to put it down into the location inventory. You'll get a little screen that pops up that tells you, here's the sell order that you had, here's the price that we agreed to, you've now delivered everything, check, and then you get the payment that's delivered. And the reason why we do that is actually to remove a round trip. So this gives a way for players to kind of like skip a step in the flow and help make things a little bit more smooth. On the flip side, if you just want to deliver it into your location inventory at the new location, you can do it like that as well. And then once you're inside the spaceport, sell it from the location inventory instead, or just sit on it until another point in time.
Okay, sorry, I let it run for a little while because I wanted to actually let them get the info out before I jumped at their throat without them finishing their sentences. But that is very cool that is how they thought it out. It's very important, I think, that they thought it out that way, because putting something into your cargo, your inventory, and then having to run to a kiosk to sell it is still kind of annoying, and I'm hoping that eventually we can bypass that step and just you can sell to the trader from your hangar, which is kind of where I thought he was going at first, but no. It's unfortunate, but at least you don't have to move the cargo back out and then send it to the trade house, whatever you want to call them, to then have to go there and sell it. At least we don't have to make that extra step. I'm not exactly sure what step he's really talking about as removing. What I think the step everyone wants to see removed is all the steps involved with trading with a hull C. That's terrible right now. The you know, putting aside all the obvious bugs and glitches and everything that goes wrong with trying to dock your ship or undock, just the fact of having to go tell them, hey, I'm here to sell, then run back to your ship, go unload everything, then come back, say, hey, I want to buy something now, go back to load it up, and then leave. It's a little ridiculous. It's too much. And I mean, it's unfortunate for them because you're killing the desire for a bunch of people to test out that system for you. Now, it also could be by design. Maybe they don't want people to test it out right now, but we'll see.
On the automatic side, whenever you go to buy the goods, the ship needs to be stowed at that location. At that point, the ship will be locked down, so you can't call it to fly it off while the loading's in process. You also have to pay a little bit more in order to fund the movement by the local services in order to actually move the cargo onto your ship for you. Once the timer has run out, you go down to the ASOP terminal. You can spawn your ship or retrieve the ship from the ASOP terminal, get in the ship. All the boxes should be there. You can fly off to another place and then do the inverse at a different location. The other thing is that you can mix and match these. So you can decide to manually load the boxes from your location inventory onto your ship, but then automatically unload them, or vice versa. It's really up to you about how you want to do it. Like maybe you decide that you don't mind unpacking it because maybe it's a little bit easier once everything's already in there. Or you can decide that for certain sizes of shipments, like for a few small boxes, you don't mind moving it, but maybe for like a really big load in a C2 where there's like a lot of things going on.
I don't know. They're kind of losing me a little bit on this one. I don't know. Like I have. Oh, sorry. There are things I want to talk about on this, but I feel like we're just kind of hearing the same thing over again, and they're just showing us in just a little bit more detail. I would have been very happy discovering this for myself through playing the game. This completely crazy abstract idea over at CIG. It's like, what do you mean you guys want to play this? We're still designing stuff. No, I'm kidding. Of course, I'm being over dramatic. But the reality is, like, I would much rather see this in game. Now, there is one thing I want to bring up, and he is dancing around it without giving us a number. How much is it going to cost us to have this auto loaded or auto unloaded? Because we already know the beginner level contracts for cargo are going to be like 4 or 5K return. That's really, really low. So essentially, it kind of feels like you're forced to manually load and unload for those missions. I mean, if you've got Avenger Titan, sure, that's great because it's only a 6 SCU. But if you've got something bigger, well, then that sucks. Can't really bring along a buddy because, well, unless you guys really don't need money, then you're going to be splitting 5K at best. There's Call to Arms does not apply here, right? So you're not going to get any bonuses along the way unless they start adding like time bonuses, like, hey, complete the delivery within X time and you get a X bonus with an additional bonus for whatever time was remaining. Like, there are games that have done it that way. It's absolutely fine. I'm thinking of ATS actually. So I don't know. I really hope that it's not like, hey, you guys get 5K from this mission, but it's going to cost you 10K to load or unload. Or to, let's say it's 5K to load and 5K to unload. Well, you're out of pocket on that. So I just hope it doesn't go that way. Maybe they tell us.
You'd rather just kind of, use the automatic loading service. Now, what we went out with before wasn't really our intended behavior, because what was missing was some granularity in the loading time determination based on the box size. It was always the plan. We just weren't able to get to it yet. So I know that there was some feedback that some of the loading times seemed to not make sense. This is the reason. The reason is that we didn't have the granularity in the system to scale the loading times based on the box size. And what that really means is that for smaller boxes per SEU, you're going to spend more time on smaller boxes. So if you have, let's say, a ship and you fill it up with 600 SEU, if those are like 1 SEU boxes, that's going to take a long time because that's a lot of boxes to move. But if we're talking 32 SEU boxes, that's a much more efficient moving pattern that has to be done by the loading services. So that's going to be quicker to load. And that'll help us tune the system to make sure that we're not overly punishing people with these incredible loading times. But we still want it to, be a reasonable amount of time for the higher loads for us to be able to tune the economy in a reasonable way. And also to make sure that manual loading is something that there is an incentive to do.
Okay, I get an incentive, but you guys still haven't told us what the prices are going to be. Like, okay, I'm glad that they've managed to scale everything. And yes, their logic holds up. Takes less time to move 10 boxes of 32 SCU than it does to move 320 boxes of 1 SCU. Yes, no problem. But as long as it's not like a heavy penalty, I think it's okay. And yeah, you want to encourage people to go through that game loop, play around with their tractor beam and stuff. But if you force them to do it too much, it loses its fun. It just becomes tedious. And when something becomes tedious, people stop doing it.
Of course, with these new kiosks and new ways to access your inventory, for those of you who have been building your possessions year after year, one question was destined to rise above all others.
Search is another one of these things that we always wanted to do. Now that we've been longer in development, trying to close out and finish off some of the bigger bugs, which has mainly been Hangar instancing related. We've also taken the opportunity to work on the quality of life improvement that we wanted to get in particular, which is search functionality in the freight elevator kiosk and the item bank. Now, this is going to be the first step. Where we're starting is it's going to be a name-based search on the items, but it won't, for example, search on description names or like color, things like that. And it will be a fuzzy search, which means that you will be able to search for substrings of names. So you can, for example, have helmet, and that'll actually pick up a lot of different items which actually have the word helmet in the name. Or you can look up helm and still get most of those same or all the same results, but maybe a few other things, which also include that. So I'm really excited about it. This is something that I remember talking about implementing search forever ago when we first originally introduced the inventory and then also the player asset manager knickknacks. It's something that we needed back-end support for to do properly in order for it to not overburden the back-end. But we actually got support from the back-end team, which did a great job getting this in for us. So I think this will be a really good feature for the players, and hopefully that makes them feel a little bit better about waiting a little bit longer on the patch.
I'm going to say it right now. I don't feel any better about waiting for the patch. But if it's to make it stable and feel good right off the bat, I will probably change my tune real quick when it actually comes out. But right now, all we've seen is 2 months of ISCs talking to us about coming soon, coming soon, coming soon, coming soon to an RSI launcher near you.
All in all, the upcoming changes to cargo and the combination of physicalized inventory with personal persistent hangars means the upcoming Alpha 324 is the next major step forward towards players owning a place in the verse and configuring it however they'd like. And what else did we learn this week? The armistice zones are being removed from player hangars, which will finally let you load up those gun racks on your ships. That the law system will let you stand your ground when someone invariably tries to sneak in and steal all of your stuff. And that storage access kiosks are for long-term storage. And that decorating your hangar with all of your items is the next step in eventually letting you grab your kit and go without the need for those inventory screens at all. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next.
Okay, well, all right, let's sum that up. More cargo. We learned more about cargo. Something they never talked to us about before. No. But here's the reality, I think, is if what he said at the end is true, and we're getting all this in order to really give us a better experience when it happens, I'm all for it. Now, what I thought was really interesting, what he said at one point was we finally got support from the back end team. I think that's huge. I think we underestimate how important the back end team is in video games, and if they don't do a good job, well, then everything tends to break because everything relies on that. And if the structure's bad, that doesn't work. It was nice to hear them mention that it's like now properly being supported and all that, and hopefully that makes for a smoother experience. I don't mind that there's no filtering through the search filter. I'm okay with that. Most of us already know what the names to the things we need is, and if you're able to search by the category, like he was saying, helmet or helm, that I think makes it a lot better for everybody. And I'm thinking mainly about beginners when I think about that, because the beginners don't know what a Morozov is or a Brushstrift Morozov is. They have no clue. They don't know what ADP, MKX, MKV, whatever. It's that flies right over their head. So you need something that people can easily recognize and get through and search for. That's nice. The armistice zone being removed in personal hangars, totally for that. The 36-second counter makes sense, no problem. But, and Dabad, you made this joke earlier, like, will you be able to kill them, loot them in that 30 seconds? Well, who knows? And it was nice to see a bit more, but like now it's okay. You guys, this cannot be next week another ISC about, well, coming soon in cargo. No. We need to be playing cargo soon.